This is an interview with Mr. Henry M. Goodgame Sr. for the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute Oral History Project. I'm Dr. Horace Huntley. We're presently at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Today is July 31st, 1996. Thank you, Mr. Goodgame, for taking time out of your schedule to come and talk with me today about the movement and about Birmingham. Welcome to the Institute.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just want to ask you some general questions, first of all, about your family. Where were your mother and father from?
My mother was from Talladega, Alabama, where she was born there, and my father was from Highlands, Alabama, where I also was born.
Oh, okay. Where is Holland?
Highlands is about 30 miles on the other side of Silicon.
Oh, okay. Is that Talladega County?
Yes. No, I was in Coosa County.
Coosa County.
Coosa County.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. And how long did you remain in Coosa County?
I about a year from what my mother said.
Oh, okay.
About a year, and I was brought to Birmingham during that period of time. After about a year old.
Yeah.
And that was where I was raised in Birmingham, in a community called Kingston.
In Kingston, okay. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one brother who's older than I am, and my sister is younger than I am.
Okay, so there are three of you.
Yes.
So you are right in the middle.
Yes, in the middle. As usual, I'm in the middle of most everything.
So you were raised up in Kingston?
Yes, I was raised in Kingston.
How much education did your parents have?
My mother did not have, I think it was third grade education.
Right.
And my father, I believe it was about 7th grade.
What kind of work did he do?
He did more maintenance work.
For a company?
For various companies.
Okay.
He would work one place and finish that job and go somewhere else.
So he was like an independent contractor?
Yes, something to that effect.
Did your mother work outside of the home?
Nothing but domestic work. She did domestic work.
Yeah. Did she, in relationship to where you live, did she work with people in that general area? Or did she go across the mountain?
No, in that general area. Well, as a matter of fact, this white lady that she was doing this work for lived about 3 blocks from where we live, so she was able to walk.
Okay. Did you ever go to work with her?
Occasionally, yes.
Were there children at that house where you went at the white home?
That was 2. We were about the same age.
Same age.
Yes, like 2 white kids. Yeah, same age.
Did you play with them?
Yes, we played around somewhat, and until we always had our limit,
right,
as to what we could do and how far we can go into the house. But generally, we played outside. Yes.
Okay. So Kingston, what kind of community was Kingston? What was it in terms of occupations? What kind of occupations?
Most of the men that lived in Kingston worked at Stockholm, most of them. Then there was a few worked at a city called Coosa Steel and Virginia Steel. That was most men that lived around in that area during that time. Type of work they was doing.
Those were usually pretty stable jobs.
Yes, and the community itself was like family. It was all home, most of the homes. Because now, I did not. I had this was a duplex house that I was raised up in.
Right.
And there was very few duplex around there in the community at that time.
So was your family renting?
Yes, renting.
Okay.
Yes.
And in that duplex, you had a family living
next door.
Next door.
Yes, right.
Okay. Yes. What do you remember about growing up in Kingston?
Fun. We had a lot of fun. Because during that particular time, we manufactured our games. Spinning top wheels, hopscotch, and that type of things. It was what we was doing, and it was, and we all was like family. During that time, Kingston had a name whereby it was pretty rough, but not within itself.
in itself.
Yes.
Any outsiders.
When you come out of that geographical area, then you're in trouble.
Oh, I see.
You know, and with the exception that if they knew you or knew someone there, it was welcome. With nobody bothering, but no outsiders coming in and interfere.
Yeah.
No interference.
Were these basically younger people that would not allow?
Yes. That's what it was. You know how kids are.
Right.
If they see something, see someone they don't know or don't like, then they'll question them. And then if they don't like the answers,
Right. Yeah, that's right.
then you got trouble.
Well, that was the form of the game.
Yes.
We had games out in Riley. I was one of them raising Riley. It's the
Right.
same kind of. I guess every neighborhood.
Every neighborhood.
had
Yes.
something similar.
That was for protection. You know, you protected the family.
That's right.
Yeah.
What school did you attend? First grade.
Kingston Elementary.
Kingston Elementary.
Yes. Stayed there until I got the 6th grade, I believe it was. And then from the 6th grade to the 8th grade, I went to East Allendale School. And after graduating the 8th, from the 9th through the 10th, I was at Urban High, which was noted as junior high, that's as far as, and then from the 11th and 12th at Parker. Yes.
What do you remember about Kingston?
Remember
high school? I mean, Kingston Elementary School. And going to Kingston.
Well, yes, we had quite a lot of fun there. And the teachers there, they was well dedicated as far as you learning. They was interested because during that period of time, you had the teachers that they was more mechanical minded. They weren't looking so much forward as too many of us going to college. You know, at that time. So what it was academically, you were more trained mechanical, do things, something mechanical. Because during that time, it was unheard of talking about going to law school or going to medical school. Or only thing you could become was an educator, mostly in the state of Alabama during that time. So
you were not encouraged to go on to college?
No. This was something you had to make a decision on after you grew up. And after growing up, in high school, then you began to choose your direction.
Right.
Yes.
What about Ullman? Ullman just went to the 10th grade at the time.
Yes, that's right.
How was the transition from junior high school to Ullman High School?
Well, actually, it was great. We knew we were gonna have to leave. We knew that because that's as far as it gone. We did not have any special extracurricular activities such as football, baseball, basketball.
You didn't have that.
We didn't have that. Only when we got to Parker, we began to participate in those things.
Right.
Well, we did have a choir. As a matter of fact, Mrs. White, Gregory D. White, taught me in the choir.
Is that right?
Yes, I saw him in the choir.
Yeah. That's great. Now, in going to Ullman, how did you get from Kingston to Ullman?
We had every day. What we call specials.
Okay.
We call it the bus or a streetcar. And that's what most of us was running during those days was buses and streetcars. And that's what we transport from there. And as a matter of fact, I think it was only about 4 blocks from Woodlawn High School that I lived. And yet we could not attend. We would have to catch buses. I understand that, that they're having a lot of problems about busing. But we've been bused all our day.
Right.
And so this is how we did. And I had to walk from Kingston to First Avenue, which was, say, a couple of miles to even catch the bus. And to go to,
right.
You see. And then it was the same thing when we going to Parker. Finished up, the park, the same thing. We had to walk this distance and
catch the special.
catch the special and go to the park.
And then you caught the special to come back home, and then you walked again.
That's right, back home.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and during that time, it was a lot of fun. And as much as that you had your other kids that you was raised up with from your community, and so it was, and at that time, Parker was the only high school. So you can imagine about how many kids was going there from that community.
Everybody was going to Parker.
Everybody's going to Parker.
Yeah.
Very few, and I can't recall any from my community that went to Immaculata, which was private schools. But that was the only private school I don't know about one in the community that went to Immaculata.
Mm.
And but all of us had to go to Parker.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
What do you remember about Parker? Parker.
Great fun. It was the most exciting thing to me after I got to Parker when we got in our uniform. Oh, it just made me feel proud.
Mm. What was the uniform like?
It was okay. Up until your junior year, you wore blue and white. Or you could wear khakis, the boys, khakis, pants and a white shirt. The girls wore blue and white. And when you got to be a senior, then all you was something then, Then you had the option of wearing your khaki. Or you could wear your black pants, you were wearing black pants and white shirts, wearing ties. And it made you feel important, really did. And I think it's a good thing. That's what's happening to our school system now, and putting them, because you're identified with something. You see, when you don't have an identity, then you seem to go astray. Just like I see some of these kids with the pants all hanging off and shirts. They dress like thugs, really. And when they're dressing like this, they feel like this. And people oftentimes treat you as they see you.
Right.
And this is why I felt like Parker was great. I was just proud to be there. And I participated, first of all, I wanted to play football. And Major Brown said I was too small. I was weighing about 160 pounds when we had these great, huge people there in, And I wanted to play right tackle. He wouldn't permit it. He said, "You too little." And it was rough. It was rough during those days. And so we.
So he didn't allow you to play football?
No. He wanted me to quarterback. And I told him no. I said I didn't want to get hit. I'm the one who wanted to do the hit. So I decided I just wouldn't play football. So I joined the choir under Mr. Henry. And of course, at that time, she was my girlfriend, and she was already in the choir, and she could sing well too. And so that was one of the reasons I went on in the choir too. I followed her. Yeah. Right. Yes, and of course later, we got married. And of course that was my first wife.
Yeah.
But academically, I was making grades. My honor roll, while I was at school. And I was classroom vice president, Of course, Don Solomon was our class president. But it was work. It was one. I mean, and then it was during a time when you just hated to graduate.
Is that right?
Oh, everybody was in tears. They didn't want to leave one another. They had got used to it and knew that after graduation that would be possible where you wouldn't even see them ever again.
Right.
And then they had to come to friend. And say some had gone to college, which at the time I wasn't able to go. My parents wasn't able to send me.
Right.
And some kids went to service.
What did you do after high school?
Well, I first of all left and went to Chicago I wanted to go to college at Chicago U, and I wasn't that long because during that time there was no support from the government to help you do anything. If you didn't get out and try to find a job, pay your way through, then you just couldn't make it. My parents were able to do it. So I was there. I was there for about 3 months, and saw what I couldn't do any good there. So I came back, and I decided I would. And of course, in 1950, I decided I got married. 1950.
What year did you finish high school?
49. And so I got married, and first of all, I had already volunteered to go in the service, but then after I decided I'd get married, I just decided I wouldn't go in the service because at that time, if you was married, they wouldn't take you in the volunteers. So I decided I'd get me a job, and now, first of all, I looked at TCI, what it was known as TCI.
Fairfield?
Out in Fairfield. And I worked there for 2 years until I got laid off. But during that period of time when I was working there, it was off and on because every time, as a matter of fact, the very first night I got hired, the very first night, and I was on third shift, and had my lunch, getting ready to go to work, got out there to the gig, found out they was on strike. Then I got to turn around and come back home after finding that. Because that strike didn't last about a week, I believe it was. And they called, and I went back to work. Worked there for about, I suppose about a year.
What kind of work did you do after?
This was just a labor. Just a labor, working on construction. And so I decided about a year, I got laid off. So when I got laid off, and mind you, this was during a time when I just had started buying my home.
You got laid off.
And got laid off at the time. And I had a couple of guys that had already gone to the credit union with me so I can get me a down payment on my house. And so after that period of time, I told them, I know Will was one guy, and the other guy named Scarborough. I said, Scarborough? I don't remember what his last name, but Scarborough lived in West, what you call it, in West Blockton.
West Blockton.
I believe that's what he lived, if I'm not mistaken. And Will lived in Fairfield. But at any rate, I had told him when I got laid off, I said, don't worry about it. First time I did that job, I would come out and I'll pay what I owed the credit union. And sure enough, I did. I wasn't off work because I was the type of person that was independent. I knew how hard it was coming up and growing up in Kingston. You understand? So I wanted my independence. So in the meantime, I was going over the mountain, cutting grass, trying to, making out until I could find a job. Because at that time, like I said, I was married. I tried to support a family. And then I finally, after about 2 weeks, I got hired at the zip code. And my first paycheck I got at the zip code, which I had already some money left over from when I got laid off at TCI, but I didn't want to get rid of that. So what I did, I went on to pay 3 house notes out of that money and laid the rest aside so I can find me another job. And after I found a job, I went out. And I think I had, I borrowed $1,000 a week from credit. And after my first paycheck and my second paycheck, third paycheck, and that's the way I paid them off. I went out and paid them off. Because I was honest, I always have tried to be honest, and I wanted them to know that they didn't suffer a loss because I got laid off. It wasn't their fault.
What kind of work did you do at Citgo?
When I first started at Citgo, it was labor. I worked there, and I was instrumental in trying to get a Citgo integrated. We had formed Equal Opportunity Committee at SIPCO. And that was back in the early 60s. And I worked with them on that. And I was instrumental as being one of the 13 individuals who filed suit against SIPCO during that time. It took us 18 years to win the suit, but we had all of these things going on there. Then I from a laborer, I went up to what is known as, I guess, what they considered to be a craft job, as an oven operator, where I had a couple of guys working under me there. And from there, in 1975, I was promoted to supervision. Of course, now, all of this was because of the fact that I had previously filed suit, so that when the position came up, that maybe I would be one of the ones that was chosen.
That was why the suit was filed, because you didn't have black people in managerial.
Oh, no. Every black man was a laborer. Every black man. Whatever ended it, white, it made no difference about the age, whether they was 19, 18 years old. If they was hired there, they was considered the boss. See, so you had to do whatever they say you know. And there was no work for a white man out there.
No work.
Very few. Except that you might have been in an area like number 1, where they was working on casting machine, which was a machinery job. You know, and blacks wasn't allowed to do nothing like that.
So blacks did the heavy work.
Oh, the heavy work. It was, and during those days, it was manual labor. It wasn't anything automatic or nothing. Just manual, pushing wheelbarrows, and shoveling sand, and using a pick to dig ditches and things of that nature.
How long were you at SIPCO?
I was there 38 years.
38 years.
Yes.
Well, in 1956, here in Birmingham, something strange happened with the state not allowing the NACP to be operated.
Yes, that's correct. I remember when that happened.
You do remember that?
Yes, I remember when it happened. And this is when, my understanding is that the state wanted the records of those individuals who was a member of NAACP,
Membership roll, right?
Yes, which I was a member of. You know. And they were denied, you know. So they decided they wouldn't permit them to operate in the state of Alabama. This is when the Alabama Christian Human Rights was formed.
Right.
And
were you one of the initial members?
Yes. When Reverend Alfred was first president, which was, you know, in a short period of time until the Reverend Shepard took over.
What do you remember about those first days of the organization of the Alabama Christian Movement?
Well, you know, it was fear. Everybody was afraid.
What were you afraid of?
Because, you see, we had an organization that could make some type of contribution to the injustices for the black man. Okay, it was gone. So now, what did we have? We had no other organization. So something had to be organized. Now, you know, I do not know exactly who all was involved when they organized. But I do know that when after meeting was called, I was there, you know, to see what's going on and how can I help and things like that.
So the meetings were called, it was the mass meetings.
Yes, mass
You
meetings.
attended the mass meetings.
That's correct.
How would you describe a mass meeting?
It was exciting, really, in the sense that we now have something that, or some leaders that can support us in announcing what our displeasure for, as far as Jim Crowism and that kind of thing. And I felt pretty proud about that. And as far as fear is concerned, yes, everybody was afraid. You know, it was a time when Ku Klux and White System Council, Asa Carter was here, and there was another one. And they was threatening the organization, violent organization. And so you have to be extra careful about announcing the fact that you are a participant in these very organizations. Because I can recall many times when we had our mass meeting, police go out and taking tag numbers off your cars and that kind of thing. So they could harass you.
Did you ever experience?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. One Sunday, my wife and I was getting ready to go to a movie, leaving Kingston, and I was stopped on Georgia Road. I think that was about 35th Street. I noticed it dropped right at that end. And I noticed the police had been trailing me. But I knew I was within speed limit. So I didn't about, as a matter of fact, I had a 1956 DeSoto. I just had bought a brand new 56 DeSoto, red and white. And I knew she was trailing me, but I know I wasn't in violation of that. So he finally stopped me around 35th Street in Georgia Road. And I sat in the car, he come to the car, asked me to get out, and I asked him for what. And he said, you were speeding. I said, no. I said, I wasn't speeding. Are you disputing me, boy? No. I said, but I wasn't speeding. As my wife could tell you, she's sitting right here, she could tell you. And so he said, well, I said you were speeding. I said, well, okay. If you said you were speeding, I was speeding. Well, I ain't gonna give you no ticket this time, boy, but I bet I'll catch you coming back down here again. I said, well, okay. And so we drove on off. Of course, I've had some other incidents in North Birmingham coming from work. And
At night?
yes, I was just got off at 11.
What was that experience like? Driving in Birmingham after you getting off at 11 o'clock,
Beautiful.
midnight, and you were going home, and were you ever stopped?
Yes, Phil. As a matter of fact, well, I wouldn't say stop per se. What happened was that next door neighbor of mine that worked at Birmingham Tank in North Birmingham, I was coming from a zip code, and I came by, and his car was down that particular day, and so he had asked me to pick him up that night. And my cousin was here, and he worked out to a zip code. He had come in from Gainesville, Alabama. He just had finished high school. And so he had got on a job out the zip code. So I was letting him drive the car. And we just parked near the place that we were supposed to pick this guy up. And we was already parked. But it was two policemen that was on motorcycles, not motorcycles, bicycles. They came up to the car while we was parked and asked my cousin, you see, what was his driving license? And he being a country boy, couldn't hardly talk, afraid. So he had his driving license. He said, well, show him to me. So you see, showed him his driving license. I'm sitting on the passenger side. And he said, oh, I said, you from Gainesville. What you doing way up here? He said, I work up here. I live with my cousin, and I work up here now. Where you say you from? He said, Gainesville. Who your folks? And then he began to tell him John Scott and Lena Scott was his grandparent. That's who raised him, you know. And they just kept agitating him and irritating him about the same thing. I said, officer, I said, we have not done anything wrong. Leave us alone. Oh, and what I say that for? He jumped, he told his other policemen, there was two of them. He come around the car and told his other policeman to pull me out the car. I said, no, you're not gonna pull me out, I can get out of my car. So I got out the car and stood up. And so I had a hat on. So he said, boy, don't you interfere with me. I said, I'm not interfering. I said, we were sitting here bothering nobody. And you came up and you've asked him several questions about his ID. He has shown it to you. And you just keep irritating him about the same thing. Boy, you interfering with the police. And then I had my hat on. He said, anybody ever tell you when you talking to a policeman, you supposed to pull your hat off? I told him, no. I've never heard that. I've been here all my life, and I've never heard that. Pull your hat off. I said, I'm not going to pull my hat off. So he took into his flashlight and tipped it and knocked my hat off. And then he wanted me to pick it up. I told him, I'm not going to pick it up. I didn't knock it off. I didn't put it off, and I'm not going to pick it up. Oh, you just want to be assassinated, I don't you? I said, no. I said, I'm just being frank with you. I said, we were sitting here, y'all come up here with us. I said, we waited on this man to come so we can pick him up and take him home. And by that time, Charles Burton, that was his name, came around the corner. And I was standing outside, and they had him then. And when they saw Charles come up, and Charles had another guy with him, I didn't know him. And he said, Goodgame, what's wrong? I said, man, these police have got to be held up. We interfering with him. Them the same song bitches that stopped me last night. So policemen, it appeared he got afraid when he said that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was three black men and two white policemen at that time.
that was four. That was my cousin, myself, and Charles Breed and another guy that Kent was coming with him.
Okay.
So it appeared just frightening. And he told me, he said, come on out to the back. He told Charles to get in the car. So which they did, they went on got in the car, put me around in the back. Boy, I ought to beat your brains out down here. I said, well, you can do whatever you want. I said, but I'm not going to take no beating. And by that time, Charles said, come on, Henry, let's go. And so, like I said, evidently from what he said, those policemen got afraid because they were young policemen. They didn't look to be no more than their 20s. And evidently that frightened them. And so they told me, well, boy, if I ever get you coming through here again, I'm going to kill you. And
where was this?
This was, I wish I could remember the street.
This is the Birmingham police.
This is the Birmingham police. It's this thoroughfare coming in from a zip code. I think that's 37. No, it couldn't be 37. That had to be about 26th Street, I believe. I believe that's the one that runs straight through. I believe that's just one that runs straight through.
But it was in North Birmingham.
North Birmingham, where they were, and I don't remember what that corner is, but that's what was a drugstore on one side there.
So did you ever encounter that policeman again?
Oh, yes. Because he told me don't ever come back through there. And so I decided I would. I came back through there every night, but it was about a week before I got a chance to see them again. And I told my cousin, he was driving that night. I said, you see, I said, by the time we get up there in Birmingham, I want to drive. I said, because if I see him, I'm going to run him over. Well, he wouldn't move. He wouldn't, because he knew I would do it anyway, see, because I didn't like the way they treated me. And so he didn't do it. So after he got home, he told my wife, you know, Henry wanted to kill those policemen. He was going to hit them. And she said, well, I'm glad you was with him, because he would have done, and I would have during that time, see, because I had not done anything wrong.
Right.
And they knew I had not done anything wrong. And at the same time, this was the type atmosphere that was going on throughout the South, period, during that time. Yes. Because I can recall some times when black men can walk down the road, especially at night, 10 or 11 o'clock, and they can see a black man and they gonna pick at him. And I remember one getting shot, and they put a knife in his hand, you know, saying that he drew a knife on him, and that kind of thing. For all of that kind of thing was going on during the days. Yes.
When and why did you get involved in the movement?
Okay, I was already involved in doing civic work.
Okay. What kind of civic work?
As a matter of fact, I was the founder of Kingston Civic League, which we wasn't chartered at the time because we were just trying to get organized. And then I was involved with Dr. King and Voters' Right League for that time also too. So with this kind of thing,
Were you a voter, a registered voter?
Oh my goodness, it's strange. When I became 21 years of age, because all of this type of thing was part of me to participate and to be active in whatever I can do to improve and advance our people. When I was 21 years of age, I went down to register to vote. And I suppose, from looking at the questionnaire, it might have been 75 to 100 questions on that thing. Asking about how many senators, who are they, and the representatives, who are they, and the governor, and who are they, and all that kind of stuff. And then, so this little man, he's nasty. He hated black people. When I finished filling it out, I walked back up to him and gave it to him. And he said, "Well, boy, you missed one question." I said, "I missed one." He said, I said, well, which one did I miss? I'm not going to tell you. You just go on back, come back in 6 months. And so I did. In 6 months time, I went back. And the strangest thing happened. When I went back, and I'm prepared to take it all over again, because I didn't know what I had missed. He wouldn't tell. So I went back down again, and when I got there, the same man, he said, "You've been down here before?" I said, "Yeah." He asked me about my name, and I gave him my name. He said, "Yeah, I see you missed one question." I said, "Yes, that's what I was told." He said, "Do you know the answer?" I said, "Yes, I know the answer. Whatever it was." He said, "Well, okay," and wrote me out. And I became a registered voter.
Like
he didn't ask me what question, or he didn't tell me. No, nothing.
It was actually if you knew the answer to the question
That's
that you
right.
missed.
That's exactly right. That's all he did ask.
Wow.
And I became a registered voter. Because, during that time, you had to pay the poll tax too.
Right.
So I paid my poll tax, and I became a registered voter, and been one ever since.
You participated in demonstrations.
Yes.
What was it like being a part of a demonstration here in Birmingham in the 60s?
Well, as I state, you have that fear of something that's going to happen. But you still have something else beside that fear, and that's pushes you forward to say that override that fear, to know that you're not inferior to that white man. It's that drive that you had to express yourself. This is one way of expressing yourself, saying, "I don't like it. Now I want to do something about it." And so when you get in those marches, yes, you're afraid, but you still have that drive. You just still have that incentive to go on in spite of what might happen. But at the same time, I had another type of fear too, and that was because where I worked, all the blacks had been called in the auditorium and told that if you ever called it in a demonstration of you, they were arrested because you were demonstrating, you automatically discharged. So I've got to try to protect that too, protect my family.
Did you have, was there a union?
No union. No union.
So you didn't really have any
No protection.
protection?
No. Just like it was in most southern states, there was no law to protect you from nothing you tried to do.
Well, how did you handle it? How did you avoid being arrested? Because you did participate in
Yes.
this.
What was happening in our first demonstration, I remember I had my daughter with me at that time. I think she's about 12 years old. We was leaving 16th Street, going up 6th Avenue.
North or south?
This is north. Up going toward 17th Street. At that time, in April of '63, I had an operation, a honey operation. So I'm still sore. I think the demonstration was in May, the next month. And so I'm still sore. And I know I can't keep up if anything happened. So I guess near the back. So if anything happened, then I could get a chance to get out without being injured. And so that's what happened then. So when they was attacked with the dogs, then we all dispensed and began to run. See? And that was and one of them. Another one I was involved in, I believe it was leaving Third Unit. Third Unit was on 7th Avenue at that time. And we was leaving Third Unit, and I was sung in the choir. So the choir was leading this thing singing. And there was another incident there where a policeman got hit with a brick. And so after that time, we all had to dispense them because it was going haywire. And as a matter of fact, this particular guy worked at the Citgo.
The one who
he threw a rock. And so he was, because he was arrested, and of course, come to find out. But they couldn't prove it was him. So he stayed there for about a year after that because he later got fired for some other reason. It might have been way of picking at him or something.
the company did not fire him
Because
at the time.
because they never could prove that he did it.
That was him.
Yes, that was him because he kept denying it wasn't me. And so I guess that was one of the reasons the company just didn't outright fire him. However, I know a Reverend Greg that worked out there, that worked out in the foundry, he got fired because he was an actor, participated on stage, and so they fired him out, and they fired him outright.
What church were you a member of at the time?
I was a member of a Hopeway of ALB church. I was a Methodist. Most of my people during that time was Methodist. We did eventually migrated into the Baptist. Of course, now like John Sr. and John Jr. They was Baptist, and I'm Untitled. See, they was already Baptist. But my grandfather was also a minister, and he was a Methodist minister. And so we had this type thing like that.
When did you join 6th Avenue?
I joined 6th Avenue after I moved from Kingston in 1964. They had built the projects around Kingston then, because that wasn't the reason I left. I just wanted to better my living condition. And the house that I had was living in was not large enough, and the property was so small I couldn't make any additions to it. And when I called Gaylord was a contractor here then at that time. And so I had them come out and give me an estimate about how much it cost the house. At that time cost $4,700.
The house?
Yes, that's what it cost. And my monthly payment was $49.50. Never forget. And so when he came out and gave me an estimate about how much from what I wanted done, and he told me it gonna cost about $7,500. Well, I'm looking at $14,000, nearly $15,000 anyway. So my wife and I got talking, and so she said, Dr. Bell, and who's a friend for her, she talks through that went on. And so they got to talking, and Dr. Bill was telling her then that she was having this house built. And so she was telling my wife, that, well, I think I'm gonna move in, I believe that was Attorney Shores. I believe this. I'm thinking about moving in Attorney Shores home. Said, I'll let y'all have this house. And that's how I got to Kingston. That was in South Goldwine. And I messed up, and that house was 15.5. I said, well, you know, I had no yard or nothing from the work he's gonna do, so it went, it didn't value or nothing, so we moved over there at South Goldwine.
Yeah. And moving from Kingston
Yes,
to South Goldwine.
yes, right.
And that's from the east side of town to the
Yeah.
southwest.
To Southwest, that's right, that's what it
What
was.
was that transition like?
Well, you
Was
know,
that a time when people were moving in? That was the time when South Goldwine was just building.
it was just built. Matter of fact, you know, they hadn't finished the house when we went out to look at it. See, yeah. I didn't, you know, moving into a new community, not knowing people, you know, that makes you a little skeptical about wanting to leave when you're leaving your family back here, you know. Like I say, when we talk about family, the people we knew, because at that time, everybody in the Kingston knew each other. If anybody wanted anything, they was there to do it for you.
Right.
You know, so this, you know, when you in this transition, leaving from Kingston going to South Carolina, because I was proud of it, because it was a much larger home, brick home, you know, and it was just a beautiful community. So I felt proud about that. But then at the same time, there was some negativism there, whereas you got to leave home folk. Yeah, you're leaving home folk.
There were ministers who didn't accept Martin Luther King when he came to town.
Yes,
In some churches where he was not welcome.
yes,
to come in.
yes.
How did those of you who were actually involved handle that?
We did not like it. For instance, my cousin, John, he might have been participating in the city officials meeting and this kind of thing. Because he was well known pastor.
He was past that Sixth Avenue
Yeah,
Baptist.
yeah. See, but he did not permit us to come over and have meetings and
Did
things.
you ever talk with him about
No.
that?
No, because I didn't like it.
Mhm.
I didn't like it.
But he would not allow.
No, he wouldn't. This is what I hear from some of the family, the members of the Sixth Avenue at the time. Because I tell you one of the things, I tried to avoid my cousin John, because in fact he wanted to make me a preacher, and I wasn't interested in that. I wanted to become a lawyer. That's what I wanted to be. And I knew how powerful he was. You know, he's very persistent. And so I bought, you know, as much as I possibly could there. And there was some I mentioned that particular one because it's the largest church in the state of Alabama for blacks, you know, as far as membership and that kind of thing.
Right.
But that's, I didn't like that. I felt that here is an individual who know about what's going on, who can see what's going on, and don't get out and value himself any more than that, you know. And I'm not just saying he was on that was many others.
Right. Yeah.
Because even during the movement choir, when we had to rehearse, we would go around various places and rehearse. And then after some churches would permit us to come in. As a matter of fact, just like my church was the ALE, I was no,
You're not.
you know, afraid of what might happen. So what we did, even when I organized for the Voters' Right League, and we had our other meetings, we were the First Baptist, Kingston. So you see, you had members there that participated with the movement. was one man, was very strong. He could Joe Jones, and he could just about speak out and get what he wanted there at the church. So, but there was nobody at my church but me that were instrumental in this kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that sort of created a division between those that would assist in the move and those that would not.
That's right.
Just looking back on that period, I know that you were involved in the choir.
Yes.
In the choir.
Yes.
But you also served as a guard, right?
Yes. Yes. I think it was about twice that I was involved in God duty at Bethel Baptist and watching the parsonage there about twice. That was one time, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Mr. Meadows, who worked with him, had this Cadillac from the people that he worked for, and would go out and pick up Dr. King at the airport. I remember one time I went out there with him, only once.
You say he was driving
Yeah.
someone else's
Yes,
car?
these white people that he worked for. And they would allow him to use that.
Dr. King?
Yeah.
They knew that he was picking Dr. King?
Well, I don't know if they knew that now.
Mm-hmm.
But
He used the car.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We knew it from what he was telling us.
Right.
But now whether they knew he was doing it, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So you were not a regular guard?
No. It was just once or twice that I was
Did you
there.
were there any occurrences during the time that you?
That was, I believe, after the bombing.
Mhm.
After the bombing of it, that's when I understood God around me.
Right. Do you remember, what do you remember about the 1963 bombing of 16th Street Baptist Church?
As I said, I lived in Kingston. And I was on my way to church when I heard it.
Heard the blast?
Heard it, yes. And I came down, because it's all about 16th Street. So I came down, because it was, you could only come so far. And one of she was my principal at East Avenue, Mrs. Bessie Estelle. And I saw her out here and talked to her, and she was telling me about things that happened. I don't know, I believe she was a member of 16th Street, I'm not sure. But I know she was here at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked with her, and she was telling me about what happened. And it was a most sad thing. It was so sad. You could just see debris all over. I never did see kids, but one of the kids' father taught me at East Avenue School, Mr. Wesley.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, he taught me. And I believe that, what was it, when I got to Parker? I believe it's Parker too. I believe I'm not sure about it. But see, I knew McNair. I knew, I knew Collins. And I did not know the Collins family, but I knew the Wesley family and the McNair. Yes, I knew. And then that was even more touching, knowing the family. And then it was just sad. It was really sad. Sometimes I think back on it now and what I could vision about what I saw that Sunday. It's sad.
Birmingham has a rough past in terms of race and race relations.
Yes. Yes.
You also participated in a demonstration on the south side.
Yes, I believe that. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that was the last one we had. I'm not sure about what was the last one, but I knew it was near the last. We left New Pilgrim, and they had, what was it? Guy, this white guitarist in jail there. And so I think this is what we was doing, was going out protesting from New Pilgrim. And when we got to the corner and because I'm way back in the back, so I couldn't hear everything going on. But I understand that Brew County, the alderman used the hole, and they just refused to use the hole. They finally, they just refused. And eventually I noticed that we was moving. So we moved on across, 6th Avenue? Yeah, 6th Avenue. So moved on across there and went to, at that time it was known as Ellsbury Park. Ellsbury Park. I think it's now Memorial Park. We went over there and we knelt down and we prayed because they wouldn't allow us to go get closer, but we knelt down and prayed there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
How would you evaluate Birmingham today compared to Birmingham in the 1960s?
Well, you know, as you well know, there have been some progress made as far as going where you want to eat, going to a motel or hotel, or going, you have some type of freedom of doing things there. But there's something there as far as the materialistic things are concerned, is doing a lot better. But far as from a spiritual and a mental standpoint, we're not doing too good. Because it's one thing to free the physical thing. It's another thing to free the mental thing. And when it's embedded into you, hatred. And even though you may be a very intelligent individual, even though they might walk up and shake your hand, but you still black. And this is the type of thing that Dr. King, you and I are the one that can change. That's something that they're gonna have to change. Yes, the physical thing, yes, we can participate, we can make some changes.
Mm-hmm.
But that mental thing, they are the one that say, yes, you are a man, you're as much man as I am.
They mean white.
White. Yes, I accept you as an individual. You know, great. I don't have to socialize with them. There's some blacks I don't socialize with, or that's concerned. But then I'm just to have the choice to know that, yes, we are friends. It's this heart-to-heart thing.
So you're saying that there's still a problem of
Yes.
racism in this country?
Yes, that's quite a bit. And as a matter of fact, you could see it all around now. Even now, what has happened, even white against white, but they bombing whites too, you know. So it's not only the black people doing the bomb. So you can see now we are living in a confused state, very confused. You know, I know that probably don't have anything to do with it, but I remember when I was in college, I remember this, and you probably remember. I think this point was road divided or something like that. I think it was about Robert Frost or something. And I can remember when it said, two roads diverged in yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. I looked down one as far as I could to where it had been undergo. This was the first paragraph. Then the last one, what I like to, and I shall be telling this ages and ages hence with a sign, where two roads diverged in the yellow wood, and I took the one this traveled by, and that'll make all the difference. And this is where we stand today. We're still standing right there at that point.
At the crossroads.
At the crossroads. That's what we're doing. And as black, we don't want to go too far to the left, nor do we want to the right. The whites are in the same state. So where there's a line of demarcation, we got to meet somewhere. And this is something. Because you know, years ago, it's not like that now. I don't think. But years ago, even if one felt that whatever was being done or the law they had was wrong, they was afraid to speak out. And the reason they was afraid to speak out because they would be branded as nigger lovers. So they didn't want to be branded at that, you know. And so this is where I think there is still some fear for ones who really want to communicate and do a lot of the things. You know, they would actually do it if they felt as though that they wouldn't be branded. You know, so this is kind of things I know when I was working out there, and Cisco, you had that say, if you were associated with any black, I'm talking white. So they're like, oh no, that's a no. Oh no, do that. We try to be friendly, and all you want to do, oh yeah, you laugh and you don't want to be. You know how we do at times. You know, we feel like we laugh, we put our arms around, showing brotherly love. You know, no, then you brand it.
You're brand.
Yeah, you go brand it. Oh yeah.
So that the difficulties of race is still with us.
It's still with us. Now, how do we rid of it? I know of but one way. Only one, and I can only press the script. But it states that if my people, who are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray and turn from that wicked way, then I will hear from heaven. Yes. This is where I think it all boils down to. If you do that, he has already told you what to do. Now it's left up to us to do it. Now, if we have our choice, and I think many times this is what happened to us, is that we want to do part of what he asked us to do, and the other part, you know, we want to do what we want to do. you know, so it's a kind of thing that we have that. Yeah.
I noticed you said that your cousin wants you to be a preacher and you want to be a lawyer.
Yes. You know, I would sometimes go there and we would sit down and we were talking, and he would show me the book about the family. You know, as I stated, you know, many of us was in the family was ministers. You know? And but at any rate, I didn't want to become that because I could see a lot of things that I didn't want to be a minister. And I chose I wanted to be a lawyer so that I could help my people. This is one of the things during the civil rights activities that stirred me into going in that direction. Because it appears that we didn't have that many black lawyers, but those few that we had seemed to be afraid to go in again and face that white man in his court. You know. And I feel like I didn't do it, it wouldn't make any difference about what he said to me, you know. Of course, at that time I didn't know that white man would tell you, said, this is my court, you know. But that I wanted to. But anyway, what happened was that after I had gone to Miles, and I'm doing all of this while I'm working at Cisco. Lord, it was rough. But it's something I want to do. I went out to Miles, and then I left Miles, and I decided I want to go to, what made me go to UAB was because of the fact that after I had gotten my law degree, which was through LaSalle University, I wrote to the president of the Bar Association at the time, which was, I know the Judge Scott, I know Scott was his name, and he told me I needed some hours. He told me on the letter I needed 18 hours. You know? So I go over to UAB and get the 18 hours, and then after I completed, I submitted for an application again to take the bar exam. Then he said I needed 18 more hours. So then after that, I had some grades that I didn't like, you know. And the reason I said I didn't like the way the instructor graded me at the time, because I can recall I made 2 A's, 2 B's, and 1 C plus during that quarter. And she gave me a C, and I went to the office and I asked her why she gave me a See? And she point blank, she said, because I'm giving you what I think you deserve.
Where was this?
This was at UAB. And the teacher's name is Irwin. I never forget.
Irwin.
Yeah, that's what the last name was Irwin. Never forget. And at that time, I could understand some of the stigma of animosity there because they didn't want you there in the first place. Because that was some classes I was the only black in the class.
What year was this?
That was in 71 and 70, 71 and 72. And that was time when I was the only black in some places, and then there was never two blacks.
Did you get your BA degree from UAB?
No, I didn't. I didn't. What happened was when the foreman came to me. See what I was doing? I had the third shift tied down. I had a guy, one of a friend of mine named Eddie Cheers, and another white guy. They was always tied down the day shift for me. And that would be 2 weeks I would have to work second shift, but the rest of them I would work third, straight third. And I was getting off in the morning. At 6 o'clock in the morning, had an 8 o'clock class. And getting out at 12. And having to go home steady, get ready to go back to work and that kind of thing. One day, the foreman came to me and told me, well, Henry said, now I tell you, you're going to have to stop going to school now because we done start integrating and we can't afford to have you going to school and we need you out here. So that killed that.
Oh, okay. And then you went to LaSalle.
Yes.
Where from LaSalle? In
Chicago. Which is a correspondence course, mind you.
Right.
And see, I was studying law at the same time, plus working. See, I was doing all this at the same time. And so after I was not allowed to take the bar exam, I began to work with and had Demetrius Newton to help me out. I had Oscar Allen to help me out. I can't remember. But anyway, it was one William Longshow in the Frank Gibson Building. He was the one that actually come out and told me that since we have an integration, that they are minimizing black lawyers in the state of Alabama. They was only going to allow 6 to pass. These are his words. Only black.
What year was this?
That had to be about 7. See, I was last time I looked at it was in 72. Had to be around 75, somewhere around there.
So they were only going to allow
6 blacks.
to pass.
6 blacks. At that time, I remember Harris, he had finished law school at Howard. And it was about 5 or 6 of us that got together and filed suit against the Alabama Bar Association. Because they had gone on and filed our judgment later on, but we lost the suit anyway. Harris left him, my understanding, left and went to Tennessee, and that's where he started practicing. And you're doing well. I was told from various sources that if I had gone to Georgia or gone to Mississippi and become a resident, I could have gone and practiced there. But that wasn't what I wanted.
You wanted to do it
I
here?
wanted to do it here.
So, but you were never allowed.
No, I was never allowed. Never allowed. No. And that was one of the things that I wanted to do. Yes.
Well, Mr. Goodgame, we've covered a lot of territory, and I appreciate you taking your time out to come and talk because you really instructed me. You've given me a lot of information.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.